ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon, where I take a look at every single Doctor Who story, one episode at a time, per day. And today, on the 29th of September 2017, I'll be beginning to take a look at The Smugglers, the penultimate William Hartnell story. And to start us off, I have to say this may be one of the weaker openings of a story in Doctor Who so far. It's not quite bad, and it could easily turn it around, but I almost doubt it. Just because we open quite promisingly in the TARDIS after a really weird repeat of the credits to sort of display our titles, and of course a reprise from The War Machines, as I believe this was filmed as part of Season 3 and held over, but I might be wrong on that. But that being said, we have the Doctor basically being his grumpy old self towards Ben and Polly, even though he's obviously secretly just wants them to stay. He's like, no, now I have friends, and you are staying here forever, and nanny nanny boo boo, pretty much. That's pretty much William Hartnell's performance for half of this. And half of his laughing like, oh, you don't believe that it's a time machine? Well, let me tell you, son, that it is. It's a time machine. You'll see. And you have some legitimate things where it's like, it may not be a time machine. That church the church already looks old. They eventually, because they land on a beach in what looks like Cornwall. Ben is kind of annoying because he's like, I need to be back to barracks because I am a naval officer, and that's what I have to do, I guess. They don't really go into much detail about why Ben has to go back to the barracks. It's just sort of like accepted that he kind of does. Like, he doesn't have a choice in the matter. He has to go back to barracks, or else he is in trouble. And you have them meeting this, like, Joseph Longfoot, who's the warden of a church. And he, as a church warden, he's like, oh, here are some magic words. Like, tell them to people and they will be your friends. So, surprise, he's really a pirate. Like, he's obviously, he's a pirate. So you have that happening. As well as just a lot of stuff going around. And I have to say, what is quite interesting, the real highlight, again, is William Hartnell's performance. It's kind of sad that this is Brian Hale's second story, and I hate to say it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be very good. I hope it's better than really what it seems to be turning out to be. But I'm not going to hold my breath just because he wrote The Celestial Toymaker. This episode had me really, I couldn't focus very much. I had to watch certain sections of it twice just to make sure I got everything. And there isn't too much plot. It just doesn't really do much in terms of writing a story. Giving us plot and characters and a good conclusion. So I think I'm going to give episode 1 of The Smugglers a 4 out of 10, just because it's below average, but we could turn this around. I hope we turn it around. But yeah, episode 2 comes tomorrow. Alright, it is the 30th of September 2017, and I just finished watching episode 2 of The Smugglers, and the story is faring much worse than I expected. We have plot actually happen, which is nice to know that plot happens. The plot is going to be going somewhere. The only issue is that plot is extremely dull, and the supporting characters, I don't even remember. There's like a church squire, this Captain Pike guy who is our villain. We actually figure out that like these smugglers are looking for Avery's treasure, which I'm guessing is a famous smuggling event. I don't really know much about pirates. That's the thing. Maybe if I knew more about pirates, I would like this story more, but it's kind of a bit... Doctor Who does pirates, as The Smugglers is sort of advertised as, doesn't work nearly as well as it should. There's some good things to say about it. Polly and Ben, they get captured And the way they escape is hilarious. Like, they pretend to be witches and treat the guard to be like, yeah, look, we have this voodoo doll here, right? And we stole your hair, even though you didn't feel us steal your hair because magic. We stole your hair, and we put a curse on this. So if we're trapped and we let this curse go through, which it'll take into effect in like 20 minutes or so, you will die, and it'll be horrid. But if you let us go free, it'll only work as long as we're trapped. So let us go free, and he buys it. It's hilarious. Polly also is like basically like, hey, Squire, like they're pirates, and the doctor. I don't know how the doctor gets on. Like, there's a lot of like just sort of things that just sort of happen, and it's really really dull. Like, you have to pay. I still don't remember quite a lot of how this story seems to be going. Like, it's dull, which there's no entertainment value in episode 2. We don't get like the Doctor being a superhero and attacking the pirates and trying to save the day. He's really not. He's being his doctor-y self, and it's not bad. Don't get me wrong, Hartnell. William Hartnell is still great in this episode, as usual, but it's the fact that the story is something I really can't care about. Why they would allow Brian Hales back to write a thing, and apparently the ratings had started to decrease by this point. So I can tell that sort of happens. Like, it feels like this is a point where the ratings would have decreased. Like, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the show was even in talks for cancellation, just because with this, there isn't too much to go on for quote unquote enjoyment of the show. You just sort of have the show being a show. It doesn't really do much to try to make you enjoy it and have fun. I don't really have much to say about episode 2, except it's interesting. And what doesn't help is that episode 2 doesn't really have any sort of any footage. Episode 1 had a little footage, a little bit of action. It was decent action. Like this, the direction of episode 1 shows me that the direction was probably good, and it's directed by a woman, which is interesting. Because this is the second female director, the first, of course, being Patty Russell for The Massacre. And it's interesting to see, because Julia Smith, I'm guessing she's a decent enough director. I can't really get a grasp on it from the telesnaps. I think maybe if it moved, I would enjoy it more, just because the sets look pretty good. I have to say, the acting is good and the set design is good, but the story is just kind of bland. There isn't much for me to latch onto as for characters. The Squire, there's some nice comedy. There's a black character who actually has lines called Jamaica. That's interesting. I think he's just a slave. So, it makes sense that they're trying to be historically accurate that there were slaves. But other than that, like, there isn't too much. There just isn't much going on. You have the church warden was killed in the first episode, and it seems like we're going to be trying to find the treasure. That's what we're going for? It's just taking a very, very long time to do so. So, I think I'm going to have to give The Smugglers episode 2. Yeah, I'm not sure what to give it. It's worse than episode 1, but I think we could. So I think I'm going to give The Smugglers episode 2 a 3 out of 10, and I really hope this isn't turning into just as bad as The Celestial Toymaker was. It is still the 30th of September 2017, and I just finished watching episode 3 of The Smugglers, and sadly, the quality didn't improve at all between episodes. What's nice, it's kind of interesting, because the story's still dumb, and I have to say the story gets even dumber because the church warden in the first episode got the clue wrong. It turns out some of the names that they're saying weren't right. Oddly enough, I looked in the production. It turns out Hartnell actually got his lines right for once. It was because of a different actor screwing up that this story doesn't make as much sense. So, if we're going to be brutally honest, if there's gonna be any reason at all to, to watch this, you have it's William Hartnell. The reconstruction is probably the best that loose cannon can do, and I don't blame them. I really don't. They've actually done wonders for a lot of the recon stuff. Like, it really does look good. And, we seem to really have a good feel for the story as best as it can. There just isn't much to enjoy about the story. That's what fails about the recon. It's the story itself being bad, and not having anything really to latch onto in terms of characters or really development or really anything. It's weird. You'd think that the story would have something for us to really look at, but no, we just sort of have the Doctor and company existing. They are existing. What's nice is that Ben and Polly, when they reunite with the Doctor, that is really what's really good. William Hartnell is good as the Doctor. He's doing the best he can. And, he continues to be a joy to watch, even if the rest of the story around him doesn't want to keep it that way. So we have something that's pretty much an almost, I want to say almost I don't want to say a farce, but kind of like a farce. You don't really have once more with the feeling that you really should be having for this. You just sort of, it happens, it exists, and now for something completely different. It's really sad. We could have something really, really good going on, but we don't. We have everything wanting to be a story, and that's it. I'm gonna have to give the Smugglers episode 3 another 3 out of 10, hoping that it'll pick up for part 4, even just a little bit, because this is really a sad effort from everybody around. Alright, so it is now the 1st of October 2017, and I just finished watching episode 4 of The Smugglers, and it is by far the weakest of the story. Really, the only part of the plot that was sort of keeping me slightly interested was the actual treasure hunt aspect of the story, and that sort of is revealed that there really isn't a treasure. There's no pot of gold or chest of gold where X marks the spot. So yeah, that is the one thing from this story that really, really annoys me, because it could have been a lot better if we just had a good way of sort of wrapping everything up and giving us a good conclusion. But no, we just get, this whole, the treasure hunt wraps up, and no treasure's really been found. It's just, it was all a ruse, there really isn't a treasure. And I just don't like it. It doesn't work. William Hartnell seems to be bored out of his mind in this one, and mainly Ben and Polly have nothing to do. They don't contribute to the plot at all. And it's a real shame, because it could have been so much better, as I keep saying. It doesn't work. The villains don't really get defeated. They just don't get a treasure. They can still smuggle. Other than really the Doctor's interactions with characters in this one really amounts to nothing. There's just nothing really keeping this story going. And I have to say, we could have, and again, as a story, it just could have been a lot better. We could have had, I don't know, we could have had somehow the Doctor really get involved and go after the villains. It could have been a really good conclusion. I don't know how it's the one script Brian Hales wrote for Doctor Who that didn't get made and was made into an audio, which was The Dark Planet. So far, that's been the best. So this one, I'm gonna have to give the Smugglers... I'm gonna have to give the Smugglers episode 4 a 2 out of 10, because it's just not good. That being said, we average out the scores for all 4 episodes to give the Smugglers the lowest score of a Hartnell story with a 3 out of 10. Thanks for watching this installment of the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon, and join me next time as we take a look at the final William Hartnell story, ending the first real era of the marathon with the 10th planet.